they comfort me. If you ever needed proof that successful leadership through God's grace and mercy can be both surprising and unlimited, take a good look at me. I'm living proof. I'm a native Houstonian, born and raised right here in Houston, attending Woodland Baptist Church in the Heights, and I chose to follow Jesus Christ at the age of 12. Basically, I grew up at my family business, Warren Electric. I learned how to jump rope and ride my bicycle in the warehouse. And by 1969, I was 18. I was a senior in high school. I was pregnant and I was unmarried. When my baby's father finally married me, I gave up my dream of going to college. You see, he hadn't graduated from high school and he didn't want me to go to college and be better than him. Or at least that's what he said. That marriage only lasted a year. My first paying job with Warren Electric was at the age of 19, a divorced mother of one, sweeping the floors and cleaning the bathrooms. Such are the benefits of being the boss's daughter. And through the years, I worked my way through every department. You name it, I did it. My second marriage was to a Marine who had served in Vietnam. He began to have horrible nightmares at the time, and in 1972, they didn't have a name for it. But later it was called combat fatigue flashbacks. He would sleep with a gun under his pillow and wake up screaming and pointing it at me and my 3-year-old son. I got scared. I was fearful. I left. Divorce number 2. When husband number 3 and I were married, he began working for my family business, for my father. That marriage lasted only 10 years until he began having affairs. By 1989, when my father passed away, I had given birth to 3 children. One had died at birth. I'd been married and divorced 3 times. I had started and sold 2 small businesses of my own at night and on weekends while working weekdays for my father at Warren Electric. And I had learned that my father's will was changed prior to his death, eliminating me, his only child, as the owner and president of Warren Electric. Like most entrepreneurs, my father intended to live forever. In fact, he ran Warren Electric till he was 83 years old after a stroke and after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. He made no succession plans for me or my mother. Although Warren Electric was previously owned and run by my father, it wasn't handed to me. When my father passed away in '89, I was 39 years old and Warren's marketing manager. But I was never trained to take over as CEO. That was not considered a proper female role at Warren or in the electrical business at all. So upon his death, the now former executors of my father's estate took over running the company. After 2.5 years of watching someone else run the company quite differently than I would have done it, I decided to risk my savings, my house, my car, and every penny I owned and could borrow to fight for Warren Electric. I dared to dream big. I went to court to fight for control of the company that my father had always told me that I would own. I had formidable foes in my now former executors. 2 were from Big 6 accounting firms at the time. One was my father's own brother. And let me tell you, they took their gloves off before the fight ever started. It was a very long, very expensive, and very ugly court battle. It was a very dark, shadowy valley of death. You see, in our court case, they used anything they could against me. As I said before, I was pregnant in high school, married and divorced 3 times. I don't have a college education. And even though I worked through every department of Warren Electric, my father had not officially told anybody that I would be running the company. Add to the fact that my father's will was mysteriously changed 8 weeks before he died, eliminating me or any family member as owner or president. My detractors had a lot of ammunition that they happily used. During the month-long trial, every day I would go home from court feeling as if I had been publicly raped. I would go home from court, crawl into a dark closet, and cry out to God, "I can't take this anymore." It was awful. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Even years later, it affects me. My self-esteem was very low, and I was beginning to believe their opinions of me. I would pray that God would take over the trial and give me strength to get through it. And you know what? He did. I would return each day with my shoulders back, my head up high, and my renewed, "You're not going to get the best of me" attitude. If I had not had my faith in Jesus Christ, I never would have made it through that. I had to believe what my earthly father had always spoke to me, not the circumstances I found myself in through others' actions. In the same way that I heard the silent voice of our Heavenly Father guiding me through the painful experience of that dark valley and the skills that I found within me through Him. In November 1992, my family and I were successful, and I became chairman, CEO, and co-owner along with my mother. Believe me when I say, courage is the art of being the only one who knows you're scared to death. These chapters of my story do have mountaintops. I met and married a very caring and loving Christian man, John Draper. Yes, number 4, but this one's a keeper. We have 3 grown and happily married children. One son is a pastor, one son is purchasing for Cy-Fair ISD, and our daughter is a jewelry designer and a cancer survivor. And between them, we have 7 wonderful grandchildren. I love grandchildren. And Warren Electric grew from $85 million in 4 locations when my father passed away in '89 to reaching $315 million with 34 locations in 4 states and 4 foreign countries with 675 employees by the year 2000. For 10 years, Warren Electric was the largest woman-owned business in the city of Houston, the 3rd largest in Texas. I was the world's largest electrical, telecommunications, utility, and automation distributor. The world's largest. I was honored with many awards through the years, and by the end of 1999, I had just completed terms as the first ever woman elected for the Houston Electric League president, the first woman ever elected as vice president of our National Association of Electrical Distributors. I'd been appointed by the Harris County Commissioners and Judge Eccles as a Port of Houston Authority Commissioner, only the 3rd woman since 1909. And I had been elected chairman of the board of Theater Under the Stars, building and moving us into the Hobby Center, and was seemingly on top of the world. I have been on the mountaintops, and guess what, my friends? That's not the end of this cowgirl story. If you're riding a high horse, there ain't no way to get down off it gracefully. As wonderful and glorious as those mountaintops were, and I do give God all the glory for each and every one of them, I still had more valleys of death I had to walk through, including another Warren Electric conflict. This time, the fight for Warren's very survival after the economy took a nosedive in March of 2000 when the dot-coms imploded. Remember that? And the industrial downturn after that. I was definitely not on the mountaintops as I had been in 2000. I began tumbling down into that dark, shadowy valley very quickly, and I think I hit every rock on the way down. In 2001, I was fighting hard not to file bankruptcy for my company by selling off branch locations, cutting expenses, laying off a full half of my employees. We had grown very large, and when the downturn came, even though we had never, ever missed a bank payment, ever, we were out of inventory ratios, and I could not reduce size and debt fast enough. I was even trying to sell the whole company. Unfortunately, our largest vendor, Rockwell Automation, Allen Bradley, whose products represented 45% of my business, would not approve the extension of the franchise to a new owner if they didn't approve of the new owner. I had no less than 6 suitors vying for Warren Electric from all over the world, and some of them were Rockwell distributors too. The first offer was for $80 million.